recent trend of reports that the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua is in El Paso, local migrant shelters are reacting to whether they've seen any gang activity in their shelters. ABC 7's Heriberto Perez reports.
Local migrant shelters like the Opportunity Center for the Homeless are worried for international gangs at their facilities. And even though they have not experienced problems, they say they're prepared to de-escalate situations at their facilities.
As it specifically relates to the Opportunity Center for the Homeless, we have had no specific issues.
Opportunity Center Deputy Director John Martin also told me federal funders and partners have trained organizations on both sides of the border regarding Tren de Aragua. He says his shelter knows how to identify the individuals who may be problematic for them, but they also deal with conflicts every day.
I'm going to be quite honest with you. When you look at the men's shelter, we work with 100 men a night. Okay, you're going to have conflict.
He says staff has to react and be able to de-escalate any type of confrontations. Even though the Opportunity Center has not had problems with Tren de Aragua members, they see conflict with migrants or the homeless population often.
But the direct answer to your question is that we've seen no specific incidents that we would say is related to a gang. Now, that's not to say that we haven't had an individual within our building, but again, we focus on people. And that's really the primary focus.
And find out how the Opportunity Center deals with conflicts at their shelters, specifically at the men's shelter, which is behind me. That's coming up tonight on ABC 7 at 6. Reporting from South Central El Paso, Heriberto Perez, ABC 7.
This one apparently, though, is authored by Justice Gorsuch, which means people senior to him now could be releasing opinions. It always gets released in reverse seniority. Thank you, Sammy. So we will look to see what we've got here. But the trouble was a lot of these communities had said if we cannot police this in some way, if we can't fine or move people along or ticket them, we're going to lose control of the situation. A number of communities out west, in this case is from Oregon, had a real issue with that. So this from the court says homelessness is complex. Its causes are many. So may be the public policy responses required to address it. The question in this case is whether the Eighth Amendment grants federal judges primary responsibility for assessing those causes and devising those responses. They say a handful of federal judges can't begin to match the collective wisdom of the American people. It looks like they're sending this back down to the lower court to reassess that. It's Justice Gorsuch, Roberts, Thomas, Alito, Kavanaugh, and Barrett together. Justice Sotomayor filing the dissenting opinion with Justices Kagan and Jackson. So we'll dig into this, see what it means on the merits, but it is by far the last opinion of the day. We've got 2 boxes, which means there are several more to come, guys.
There's a new effort in Indianapolis to get Hoosiers in need off the street and into an apartment. And it's all part of a pilot program, a new one, to address homelessness and the population in the Circle City.
Yeah, Fox 59's Michael Van Scoik explains exactly how this new initiative will work.
People who've been living on the street often have very high barriers to housing.
The city of Indianapolis has been working on affordable housing development for several years, but as projects like that take time, a new master leasing pilot program would take advantage of apartments that already exist.
It's taken longer and longer to build buildings, and it's becoming much more complicated financing. So the idea of this is to get units online faster for people experiencing homelessness.
It's an idea that originated in Milwaukee. Rodney Stockman says he's the city's senior strategy director for homelessness. The program would pay rent for some 30 apartment units starting in November.
We've got 3 service providers and then 3 or 4 landlords that we've been interested in.
The city says the goal is to rent up to 180 units over the next 5 years. $500,000 in opioid settlement money will pay for the program over the next year. The city will also receive additional funding for the next 18 years.
Most of the landlords who have responded have experience working with this sort of community, people who are vulnerable. The biggest upside to the program for landlords is that it's guaranteed payment.
The program aims to eliminate several barriers like background checks. It also looks to help shelter 3 different populations.
One is people experiencing street homelessness and living on the street who are chronically homeless. The second is families. And then the third target population is going to be people re-entering from the criminal justice system.
While this program is one step toward addressing homelessness across the Circle City, Rodney Stockman says there is more work that can be done to help get people off the streets and into a safe shelter.
Engagement is everything in this work, and building relationships with people. And just because someone doesn't want to move in off the streets today doesn't mean they won't tomorrow. So it's continued engagement that's important.
In downtown Indianapolis, Michael Van Scoik, Fox 59 News.
Michael, thank you. Officials are hoping to double the number of units within the next 2 years, bringing the total to 60 apartments. Well,